Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to the channel. So, today we're going to be reviewing Broken. This book did not take me very long to read, but I think that's also primarily because I worked more. Changed my work availability, so I usually read this on my breaks or my lunches after I'm eating, so. But yeah, didn't take me very long, so. We're good. Before we get started though, if you guys are new, hit follow, subscribe. We do a lot of random things. Still trying to figure out what those random things are. Yeah, basically that's what we're doing. I want to do more YouTube videos. Right now it's craft fair season, so this week I'm probably going to do craft fair stuff. But then next week I'll probably try and do more. Plus I'll be home more because work didn't schedule me at all, so we shall see. But yeah, I might get things mixed up, but I know the general important points of what happened. But as we do things, we start off with the overall plot. What I think worked, what didn't. Then we'll talk about certain characters. And then we will go to overall thoughts of the book. Also, I might sneeze. We'll see what happens. So Broken. The book starts out with Elena. And it's kind of like her first change into a werewolf, knowing that she's pregnant. The primary folks that, she's pregnant, no one wants to do so. She's kind of going stir crazy in the house. But that's the general premise. That's the start of it. What kind of steamrolls everything is Reese calls from book 2 at the compound. He calls Paige, and then Paige calls Elena saying, hey, he has a job for you. And he has that favor because he saved her ass in there. So he's like, great, well, you're going to owe me a favor somewhere down the line. So we meet up with Reese. And they don't know what it is. They just say, hey, I have a job for you. Let's talk about it. Or no, he talks about it with Elena. She relays it to Jeremy whether or not to get more information. But anyway. They go to meet him. And the whole premise is it's the From Hell letter. And supposedly, the real life Jack the Ripper wrote this letter. Someone was contracting him for his services to get said letter. So they could basically figure out if it was legit or not. Then it goes in, and so he's I'm already on borrowed time with the person who wants it, so we gotta kind of act fast with it. And so they talk about it, and he's like, well, if I find out more information or something, let me know. Because there's a time jump. So Elena is, I think, when the book actually starts taking place, it's she's 5 months pregnant, but werewolf pregnancies are a lot faster than human pregnancies, or I would assume other supernatural pregnancies. We haven't gotten to Paige being pregnant yet, so I'm not sure. But I digress. So by the time we get to everything that happens in the book, I'd say she's 8 months pregnant. At least I think that's what the doctor says in the book. Before I go on though, I will say one of my favorite parts of this book was he's meet us alone, but Jeremy and Clay aren't gonna do that. So he's talking to her about Clay and how you don't need a guy like that. You don't need a guy that's gonna be a brute, whatever. I mean, you might think you do, but you don't need a guy like that. Elena's just staring at him. And then, he's essentially oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? And she's yeah. And I just imagine him going up like this, and all of a sudden just zapping away. It was funny as shit, but I digress. So, they move on. So, it's a few months. Elena's kind of getting more stir crazy in the house. Wants something to do. And I mean, granted, she knows why. She can't really leave because, more so the mutts. If they find out she's pregnant and she can't fight back as much. And now there's more for Clay to lose, there's a problem. But they get the call. And they go to get the letter. And now they're going to go and get the letter. Elena can't do anything. But Jeremy and Clay do all the work. But the guy who has it, his name is Patrick Shanahan? I always thought it was like Shanhanen, and that could be how it's pronounced. I can't remember how it's said. But this guy has the letter, and then they break into his house. They mention Carl, because I think Carl has officially joined the pack, or he was going to. It was either that, or he's officially joined the pack in No Humans Involved. One of the two. I'm just getting timelines mixed up. But anyway, so they work with but anyway, he kind of gets like the floor plans of the house, and he goes, because he's the, oh, what's the word? He's the jewel thief, is what it is. I was really hoping to see him in this book. I did not see him, but he's in No Humans Involved, which I'm super excited for. So they break into the house. Very smooth operation. I was kind of expecting more trouble, but we didn't get to that, which was interesting. I guess it makes sense. But now this is where the problem starts. They're walking down the road. And then they all want to look at the letter, but there's a mosquito on her shoulder. And kind of Clay swats at it. He gets her blood on it, whatever. Or the mosquito gets her blood. But then it goes to the From Hell letter, which they have open. So this is how, I believe I mentioned it in Haunted, because I'd read it at that point. But this is how it happens. Okay, this is the From Hell letter, right? She smacks the mosquito, and all of a sudden there's blood on it. And then that's what causes all this shit, is a fucking mosquito. I was laughing. But no more than 5 minutes after they're doing that, they're talking, they're like, we'll put it away, we'll clean it up, and whatever, we'll as best we can. Then there's this strange glowing light in the street. And then the first zombie comes out. A little after that, the main bad guy comes out, but we don't know because we're too focused on the zombie. But yes. So, that being said, the first zombie comes out, and now we're chasing him. He's known as the Whiskered Man. We don't know much about him. I thought he was Jack the Ripper. I don't know if he actually was, though. Because it's when the letter was made by, I think, a quester, which they talk about in Industrial Magic, but to rejog your memories and to rejog mine, there are people who they're supernaturals who want to live forever. And, we saw it with, the vampires, Natasha and Edward, I think was his name. But now we're seeing it. The sorcerer wanted to do it, and he got, I think, 2 random people, and then I think he fell into his portal, was what I read, or he went in there purposely. Not sure. But yes, so it all had to do with the quester. Again, I'm going to skip over some of the more confusing parts and kind of give you the rough things. One, I really don't remember all kind of those details. And also I don't remember them. I probably could, but it's I don't want to bore you guys this time with that. 2, it's just easier to give you a rough thing of what's going on because it's a lot. I was confused reading it. But anyway, they're chasing him, but he gets away. So they're okay, it's probably nothing. It's whatever. But then the next day they find out somebody goes missing. So they go investigate. It's an old woman, and they try and chalk it down to dementia, Alzheimer's, one of the two. Wandered off and whatever. So they're okay, we're going to go back to Stonehaven. On the way going back to Stonehaven, the Whiskered Man, because again, zombies, they exude this horrendous smell of rot, comes by and is tracking them, because they're well, even if he wants us, he can't get to us. But somehow they track down Elena and them. And then I think Jeremy's going pee, Clay's getting food, and then she's kind of off. She smells the rot, and then he comes towards her, and he tracks her down by herself, and then he goes after her, but then Clay stops him and they kill him. I think that's the end of it. It's a book. This is probably about 50 pages in. We know that's not the case. The zombie is dead. But they pass by a car, and then they see there's a dead body in the car. So they know something happened, and now they need to try to get there. Because they want to get Elena home to Stonehaven, but that's not going to happen. They make a few calls. They ask Reese more about the letter, more about the buyer. The buyer, I think, was Zoe Tanako? I think it's like a Japanese Asian name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but we're just gonna call her Zoe. Same with like Patrick. We're just gonna call him Patrick. Anyways, they contract the buyer. They find out the name of the buyer, which is Zoe, but he's like, I'll see if I can track her down for you. And then they call Robert Vasek, which is Adam's father. And they call him, and he's like, well, here's a name that might help you. And it's Anita Baker, I think is her name. So you can go talk to her. She runs like a spell shop and stuff like that. She's a witch. She's also a quester, but that's not revealed till later when Zoe's like, yeah, I don't deal with questers. Just kind of weird. But this is the long and short of it before we get into bigger details. So basically what they find out is this whole thing, there's like a dimensional kind of portal in McMain Street. The only way to close said portal is to kill the person who created it. Now, they don't know who created it because they're thinking it's Shanhan, and they think it's his grandfather or his father, because the Patrick and his family, they always steal items for, like, that are considered fake. But, you know, there's someone who controls it. And the only way to kill the zombies, because the zombies do come back repeatedly, is by, you know, killing the zombie controller. Otherwise, you can just bring them back. So, Jamie also makes an appearance. But yeah, so this is a thing. It's the short version of it. They discovered there's 2 zombies. I was not expecting a female zombie. How is it worded? Bodyguard? Yeah, a pair of zombie thugs. I was expecting someone to be Jack the Ripper and 2 thugs. I was not expecting no Jack the Ripper, and then a whiskered man and a woman named Rose. But anyway, now there's another one. They saw this woman in a petticoat come out of the portal. And 2 other people go missing. And then they go to find her and kill her, but it's like, oh, she has, I think it was like syphilis is what she had. So they go to like kill her, but I think she gets away, or they don't kill her as easily. I can't remember. But now they know there's 2 zombies. There's also infected rats at some point. So, leading up to it, so Jamie comes at some point. Antonio and Nick also come as well. But, you know, Elena's worried because she's like, oh, I did this, I caused this. And Clay's like, no, I'm the one who swatted the mosquito. And whatever. But, so as they're going about this, they're trying to lure her out. And they do it a couple times, like in a subway, but they also go to like a museum to kind of lure her out because that's where they smell. I forget which one it is. I think it's Rose. And they're in this museum, and, you know, Elena's like, I'm out here in the open, guys. What the fuck? Come and get me. But they kind of catch on to the tactics of what they're doing. So Rose tries to take out Clay, and she scratches his arm. And immediately I'm like, there's something definitely going on there. You would not make a big deal out of a scratch. Like, I know Werewolf's gonna do a lot of fights, but it's like, you do not, 1, it's a zombie, but 2, you don't make a big deal out of a scratch. It's much worse than a scratch. Jeremy looks at it, he thinks it's just a scratch. They call it fine. And then the book proceeds. And then Jamie's like, alright, I can come help. It's fine. Because she just wants to prove herself to be useful. And then, so she comes, but then they finally get in contact with Zoe, who, you know, she tries to escape. Elena catches up with her, and then she's like, oh, you're the werewolf, and you're pregnant, cool. And then she's like, all right, well, give me a few days to think on this, like, any information that she might have on the letter. So, the book proceeds, you know, just talking to people, getting more information, you know, the arm getting much worse than it was, because, you know damn well it's not just a scratch. And eventually they are tracking one of the zombies. I think it's the whiskered man, because it's not as strong as Rose's scent. But they are now chasing one of the zombies. And they end up in a construction yard. But now there's something going on with the rats. like I mentioned earlier. And of course, at the time, I want you guys all to know this, I was watching Legends of Adventurous play The Edge of Midnight. So the entire time I'm seeing there's the rats are being mentioned, I'm literally picturing the weasels that they dealt with in the Crooked House in The Edge of Midnight. And if you've played the Crooked Moon game itself, they're in that one too, which I happen to own now, and I'm very happy about that. That was going to be very sad because I know I've been reading ahead in it because I've been thinking about DMing it, but digressing. Anyway, they're in this construction yard, and Elena's cornered. She's on the ground. There's rats fucking everywhere. And it's her, Nick, Clay, and Zoe, and I think there's someone else with them. I can't remember. But anyway, they're all in this construction site. The rats are, like, eyeing Elena, and she's freaked out. Who wouldn't be freaked out? Because, I mean, it's rats staring you down. Clay's gonna take the hit to protect, his wife and kids. But then, like, Zoe's like, no, let me do it, because she's a vampire. They have fast healing. So she takes that for Elena, and she's like, well, that was traumatizing. But then after that, you meet this guy named Matthew Hull. And he is what he perceives. He is someone who pretends to be this guy who is just scared. He somehow got accidentally thrown into the portal. That's his story. But they don't know why he's not a zombie. And, he's made himself known. And they're like, well, we don't trust him. And they're like, well, let me explain my side of the story in the park tonight. And then we'll do that. So they do that. I think they readdress Clay's arm, and then they go and meet him, I think. And basically he's like, well, I worked with Patrick's great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, some variation of great-grandfather. And I was his accountant, whatever. And he is like, he was doing some shady business deals. I didn't question it, but there was one day I pretended to leave. He encouraged all of his employees to leave. And then I stayed behind because I was a dumbass. And then I found him and some unsavory half-demon gentleman who was presumably Jack the Ripper doing some shady portal shit. Then I was thrown in the portal. Now, if you think that's a load of shit, it is. Like I explained, he was the dumbass who did all this. And now I'm not sure if he accidentally fell in or if he went in purposely. Remains to be seen. But digressing. So he tells a story and people are like, well, is it true? Do we believe? No one really trusts him, but it seems like a valid enough story. So they're like, well, we'll keep in contact with you to protect you from the zombies. You seem pretty scared from it. Plus, I'm sure it's the keep your enemies closer sort of thing. Just keep an eye on them. So then at some point, a couple of people get killed. Presumably, I want to say by the Whiskered Man, I want to say. Oh, excuse me. And so a couple people get Christ. Professional, I swear. A couple people get killed. And then Jamie does like a seance to talk to one who just recently had passed. And she said like a man had come to like solicit him for services, then she killed him, or then he killed her. Now I don't know if that was Hull or if it was, I think it was the Whiskered Zombie. Elena catches up with an old friend, but then they see Anita Baker, and then further looking into Anita Baker, and this is also after I believe she steals the From Hell letter that she gets killed by Hull. Because it's like, she's marked. I forgot to mention that earlier. She has like a marking on her hand, so the zombies and Hull can always track her. No matter where she goes, she can be tracked. And the only way for that to go is to close the portal. But she finds this out, and she also finds out the rituals for the baby that Elena's carrying. She wants the baby. At some point they reach out to the doctor, Tolliver, whatever, to look at Clay's arm, and it's like, well, it's gangrene, because it was getting really, really bad. They contacted this guy, Tolliver, because he was a doctor. Zoe had told him, well, if you want to find Shanahan, talk to him. So they find him. He's like, all right, well, let's let me be there when you interview him, because I'm friends with Patrick and whatever. So they contact him to basically look at Clay's arm, because it's really bad. But then it's like, hey, while you're here, look at Elena. Because, as great as Jeremy is, it's much better to have a supernatural doctor who's dealt with a lot more than just werewolves. Especially where, they've never dealt with pregnancy, especially for a female werewolf. And he's like, well, you're like 8 months along, gestational-wise with the babies. And she's like, babies? And, they're happy and healthy. It's a good pregnancy. And having, I think, like a third party kind of confirm that would helped. But, so she's like, babies. And it's like, yeah, you're having twins. And then, everyone's in much better spirits. Also, I think when she's not... also, one of the things was when she wasn't worried about the babies, she would change easily. But when she was worried about them, that's when she had the issues. But... so they find out they're having twins. And then they had already kind of discussed Logan. Because when they were meeting Zoe initially, she was enrolling in class. And Clay had said, it should kind of try to ease the tension. Hey, what if we named one of them Logan? Because where they were meeting is where I think she first met Logan. And because she was very close with Logan, though we don't see it. Because he died in the first book. It's pretty bad when I watch the show and I'm like, oh wait, that's right, he's alive still, isn't he? But digressing again. So after this, so she's happy. They're happy that the babies are happy and healthy, and that they're having twins. So now they're meeting Patrick, and they go to the school, somewhere open, but there's also woods. So if it does go haywire, they can all right, we can go this way. They're talking with him, and he's saying from start to finish, I know nothing. I don't know anything about this. Just a family heirloom that got passed down to me, which was fine. No more than 2 seconds later, as they're interviewing him, all of a sudden he gets blown to bits. And it was a very high level spell. And they think it was Tolliver, and he's like, what the fuck? No, I wouldn't do that shit. So they go outside because there's, I think, people coming in. The lights are dark. And then they tie up Tolliver. And he's saying, whatever. That's the dog. Don't mind him. They tie him up, but then it shifts to the zombies are coming. Dog. It switches to that the zombies are coming. This is why I film in my room. I have the house to myself, so I'm in the dining room right now, and I film in my room, so you don't hear him. But then then the zombies show up, and then Hull is like, I'm the bad guy, and I want Elena and her babies. I tried to do this by myself without you, so it could be painless so you guys have more kids, but, you guys had to make it difficult. And Clay passes out. Clay is in, no condition for anything. And an exchange of words. He gets away. They bring Clay back to they're like, okay, well, he's in danger. We need to get Clay back to Stonehaven. We need to do X, Y, and Z and get Elena back to Stonehaven. Just kind of fortify it, because he's a sorcerer too. Just to put that out there. Hull is. And then Elena's like, no, I can't just sit here. I can't do X, Y, and Z, because, if Elena was in the same position as Clay was, he would be doing the exact same thing as her. So Jamie comes back, and she's like, I have a plan. I have a thing that we can figure out and try and do. Because Hull said, hey, if you do this, I can call off my zombies, and then he'll get better. I'll call off my zombies for good, and he'll be fine. Which, I don't know if that was true or not. I want to say he was probably just talking out of his ass, but I really don't know. But Jamie and Elena have a plan. They're going to try and find one of the zombies, because it's you can control zombies, but you can also control other people's zombies. You can call onto them, but you can also control other people's zombies as a necromancer. Or a high-level sorcerer spell or something, I don't know. But they call on Rose, and they're basically persuading her to join them. We'll make sure you get to rest, and you can redeem yourself at a different time. And she's like, okay, fine. I'll lead you to him. So they lead him to this basement. The whiskered one is there. He stabs Zoe in the neck, but she's not dead. And then Hull runs. So they play hide and seek. Zoe gets her revenge on the whiskered one. Elena kills Hull with... She did it in the first book, when they're in the nightclub, or the rave. And she has her hand out like this, and it like turns, and she can like turn her hand into like a claw, and killed that one. I think, was he a serial killer or a womanizer? I don't know. There was like a bunch of them in that book. But anyway, yeah. So she does that with Hull. He's dead. Zoe gets her revenge on the whiskered one, and then they, as promised, they killed Rose. And so everything went to rest. The 3 people that went missing came back, which was cool. They were all unharmed, probably dazed and confused, because they said that they would not remember what happened coming back, which was good. Also, during the entire thing, probably was an important thing to mention. You know, when these zombies come back, there was a lot of health scares going on, and this, I guess, takes place a couple years after, like, there was, like, a whole SARS, I think is what it was, incident where, like, nothing was safe in Canada, so it was fresh with that, but, like, water wasn't drinkable, people were in there, rats were issues, because they were, like, just more aggressive and not as, like, we're gonna hide sort of thing. But digressing. So anyway, they leave, and they come back. So she goes back to Clay, and he's like, is she better? It's like, no. And the big deal with that was Clay could lose his arm. And if you know anything about the books, you know anything about Clay and his role in the pack of what he does, you know, his whole thing is, I stare at you the wrong way because I can back up. Like, I can talk to talk, and I can walk the walk. So that would be an issue, because now he wouldn't be able to do that. But he was able to, like, just get, like, muscle, like, the muscle that was infected, and now he has to train with his, like, left arm to be the more dominant one for a lot of things. And Elena was like, oh, guys, get mad at me, we should have left X, Y, and Z, and he's like, are you ready to go home? Like, not blaming her. Because, I mean, honestly, it would have happened. They probably would have been called in to deal with it elsewhere. So now it goes to the prologue, or epilogue, where now it goes into Clay and Elena giving birth to their kids, and they named the boy Logan, and then they named the girl Kate, I guess. They have like a bunch of short stories that I want to read, but they were named her, like, I think Natalia, which is, I think, part of the Kate, what's-her-face's family, Elena's, but then it's like, no, it just didn't seem to fit, and so she's like, what's your middle name? It's like Catherine with a K. All right, we'll name Kate after Paige, and then that's where the book ends. I mean, overall, it was a really good book. I really don't have, like, many complaints. I mean, I breezed through the book, honestly. It was definitely funny, kind of, like, seeing, like, more, mature versions of the characters to a degree. Like, Jeremy's there, and I think, like, this is, I think, the book, because if you guys know the books, Jamie is like, in love with Jeremy, and this is, like, the first book where you kind of get the hint that, he's starting to get feelings for her, and it's even funny, too, because I'm reading No Humans Involved, and literally one of the big things is, like, Jamie's, like, you know, dealing with problems, and she calls Jeremy, and he says yes, and she's like, why'd he say yes? But then she's like, oh, like, well, you know, he's like, well, let's go do this, let's go deal with, I think, like, Robert, to try and solve their problem, or go ask him questions, and he's like, and she's like, well, yeah, you go there, I have to go to LA back on set, and she's like, he almost looked disappointed, am I going crazy? I do know that if there's any sex scenes between them, I'm not reading the sex scenes in that book. But then again, I've spent, like, 6 books now knowing about Jeremy, seeing him essentially as, like, a father figure, and the thought of reading sex scenes with him and her, no, we're not doing that. The character growth was good. There was a character I didn't mention named T. She was a necromancer that had kind of just gone like super crazy, which doesn't help Jamie's problems whatsoever in this book. Kind of interesting. Friends with Zoe. That's how Jamie got the idea for controlling zombies. But overall, it was really good. Like, I didn't see like really any problems with it. There was no chase scenes that went on too long, so I really can't complain. I didn't like the ending because it was over, and I really actually enjoyed this book, but I was looking forward to this one for so long, just for the concept of it with Jack the Ripper, and I was curious how Kelley was gonna blend Jack the Ripper and werewolves together, because, you know, I guess I would more peg that for like a Paige and Lucas problem or a Jamie Vegas problem, not werewolves. But yes, overall it was a good book. It's definitely up there, probably like a 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. I don't know. Like, once all the books are over, I'm gonna like look through them all and be like, all right, how would I rate this book? And then I think that'd be a fun video to do. Probably like a 10 out of 10, honestly. Just because it was really good. Like I said, it did not take me very long to finish, but I think it's a combination of I wanted to read it, but plus I had work. Because I usually don't read at home, I usually read at work or in the car. And I was working a lot more during this time, so. Yeah. But overall, I would recommend it. It's really good. I'd say it's I say one of the better ones. All the books in the series are good. It's definitely higher up there, like on my tier list of it. Probably up there with like Dime Store Magic. Like Dime Store Magic and Bitten. I mean, Industrial Magic, my bad. Dime Store Magic was good too. Stolen and Haunted are the only ones that are a little low, but Stolen is there and Haunted is here. Stolen was good, just not that good. But yeah, no. Definitely a good book. I would definitely recommend it. It definitely, I loved all the characters in it though. I loved seeing Nick. I loved seeing, Antonio again. Nick had some great moments. I'm curious how it's going to translate into later parts of the book series. I think the next appearance is Frostbitten with the werewolves, but we'll see. But Nick overall, she really had some great moments in this. But I don't want to drag the video on for too much longer, so. But yes, I don't know when I'll make a next video. Hopefully soon at some point, but we'll see. This week probably not, just because we have craft fair stuff. But if you guys like what you see, hit follow. I think we'll live on Twitch tonight, so stop by on Twitch at some point tonight. Yeah, hit follow if you like what you see for like book reviews. And we'll catch you guys next time. Like, follow, subscribe, those are the exact same things, but I don't care. Have a fantastic night, guys.